So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this exciting panel discussion on how lighting designing are shaping the future of architecture and design. So lighting is often described as the unsung hero of the architectural world, influencing our perceptions, emotions, and interactions with spaces in profound ways. Today we have distinguished panel of experts who will shed light on how lighting innovations are transforming the world of architecture and design. So let's ignite the illuminating conversation and explore the bright future ahead. And before we dive headfirst into the world of lumens and aesthetics, let's take a moment to appreciate the gravity of our situation, not just any gravity, but the gravity of panel discussion on lighting innovation. Speaking of which, I heard that Einstein once said, light travels faster than sound. That's why some people appear bright until you hear them speak. So let's make sure our ideas shine as bright as our expert panelists today. So I would like to start with architect Thiru. As someone who wears both the hats of lighting designer and an architect, could you share some instances where lighting played a pivotal role in enhancing architectural designs?
Hi everyone. Hi everyone. The interesting question for me as a lighting designer. I'm no longer practicing as an architect for the last 10, 12 years, and I haven't seen a project where lighting doesn't play a role. Whether one recognizes the role or not is a different thing altogether. However, lighting does play a role, a pivotal role, and in there are few projects where the architect or the client does realize the importance or the need to amalgamate artificial and artificial light and daylight. Most of the time, we are hired for artificial lighting only, but there are few firms like Mofa, AD who do understand the need for lighting designer very early on in stage. We did a restaurant called Flow. It's in Saket DT Mall Avenue or something like that. It's a 10,000 square feet huge restaurant space which has almost 20 kinds of light fixtures. It's not a nightclub, it's a normal restaurant. And the idea for the client as well was to make sure the space transforms with time from lunch to evening to dinner to weekends, and that's only possible through light as a medium. However, the problem that we foresee as a lighting designer, our industry itself is not very organized or very structured, so to say. One of the main thing that NPC also the panel also addressed or tried to address is to structure that built environment. Where even today there is a census in 2022 which said in India only 10% of buildings have some kind of a consultant, not architect, some kind of a consultant, even a draftsman. He's also a consultant in one way. Only 10% of buildings. That's a huge number for a country like us. So we realize that lighting designers come, which is a niche within a niche within a niche. We understand the need. Howsoever we might speak, we might realize that lighting is required, but the realization of the same is not there.
That's fascinating. Very less people are doing so. Yeah. So architect today, we know you are in the hospitality sector. So how does lighting contribute to create a memorable guest experience?
Hi everyone. So basically in hospitality we work for experience. So the base core, the core of the whole industry is to give you a beautiful experience. An experience is what are your five senses, and one of the sense, which is our eyes, needs light to work. So if we can't work with light, we can't give you that experience. So light is one of the core part of our whole design process. We can't actually work without considering light. It's been not talked of too much, but when we work for the projects, light is one thing which works for all the parts of the project, whether it's color of a material, whether it's a texture of a material, or whether it's experience or the mood which we want to the end user. It all drives because of the light. So natural light or artificial light, or we say a design light, plays a very specific role when we talk about hospitality or an experience. So I can't say that light can be ignored when we design. It's very much required. The temperature of the light or what intensity it all needs to be taken care of, and it surely helps us design better for the end user.
Yeah, and we have seen also that we have you ever used lighting to guide the guest through different areas?
Yeah, that's done precisely in all our projects because we work for restaurant projects as well. And in restaurant projects, the light changes with the time. So when you're doing a dine-in for the day, or when you're doing a dine-in for breakfast time, it's natural light which you can't omit, because a breakfast experience in a dim light can't be done. And same goes for your night experience. When you want to party, you need a very dim light in there so that you just see each other and you enjoy within yourself. So when you have the dark environment and you need a wayfinding to be done, that is surely done by light. So wayfinding by light is surely done in all our projects.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, Kritika ma'am, we know that you do a lot of schools. Schools requires lighting that fosters a conducive learning environment. So, how do you approach lighting there?
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me here. School requires lighting which doesn't not only just illuminate spaces, but it also, encourages the child, makes them alert, and also gives them a physical comfort. That is, there should not be any stress on the eyes of the kids. So there are certain factors we always keep in mind when we are doing lighting in schools. So first is the space functionality as to what the space is being used for. If it's a public area where we have the visitors, it should be brightly lit. They can easily find their way in and out. If it's a classroom, it has to be brightly lit. With kind of luminous selection of the fixtures is very important, that it is reducing the eye strain on the child, as well as it is energy saving as well. Natural light, of course, has to be considered. Natural light cannot be omitted. So a fair balance between natural and artificial lighting is to be maintained always. And one of the most important part is the temperature of the light. So when it is a school, it's always has to be around 4000 Kelvin so that the light is bright. And, the kids are encouraged, their concentration level is enhanced, the errors are reduced. So that's how we look at lighting when we are doing education institutions.
So, do you also play with light in the different activities in the schools?
We do play a lot of lighting with different activities. For example, if it's a cafeteria, if it's a play group, that's the kindergarten, a very different kind of lighting, is done to keep the the smaller ones, concentration बहुत जल्दी उनका हट जाता है चीज़ों से. So they have to be kept glued onto the activities, in which light definitely plays a very, very important part. When it comes to the auditoriums have totally a different kind of lighting. Stage lighting is different. We have indirect lighting in auditoriums. So all these things have to be kept in mind.
Great. Interesting. So, Sanjay sir, as we know you are into real estate, so lighting often affects the property value and appeal. So, how does innovative lighting enhance the marketability of a real estate project?
Namaskar. First of all, I want to thank Club NPC for organizing such a wonderful event, and the pose they are taking. It's also a unique in this industry. If we see, this is a unique concept they have taken to integrate each and every element, pillar of the construction industry. Thanks a lot. As far as real estate is concerned, definitely I have seen in my last 35 years of experience, we have seen a drastic change in the lighting designing. Right from the basic bulb to the LED to the smart lighting, everything has changed drastically. There are a lot of innovations, technological innovation, and it's indeed a very important part as far as the real estate projects are concerned in their marketing, in their sale value, and the overall. If you want, you have a good lighting system, you can notch up your project to a next level if you have designed it properly, execute it properly.
That's great, sir. Thiru sir, so could you highlight an innovative lighting solution you have implemented that truly transformed the space?
Well, it's on design. Yet to be built. It's a tendered out project. The Chandigarh government, the UT administration is making a skateboarding park for Chandigarh. And a huge space. And the architect TAS Studio, they don't want to cut any trees, so they have inculcated the trees within the skate park itself. The skate park is right across the Sector 17 market, and it's a dug up space. Now, in that space, the conventional way of lighting up will be a pole. Now, because there's a football stadium already behind it, which will have a pole of its own whenever it does lighting, we were avoiding a visual clutter. And hence, we introduced what is called the catenary system, where the lights are suspended from a rope, a tension cable, so to say. The idea is that because sports lighting will require uniform lighting with a very stringent norm, so the only way to go about it was to make sure that we create a downlight kind of an effect on an open field. It's an open area. So we ensured that with minimal pole, a 6 pole, it's a huge area, which makes an 8 kind of a shape. The skateboarding will require those kind of adventures, and with concrete undulating. They are a special concrete consultant and as well as skateboarding consultant for that project only. The idea was to make sure that we get uniform lighting despite having trees everywhere. So hence the catenary system worked wonders. The problem, there is no precedent for catenary system in sport lighting in India. So we had to make a precedent. And that the designing took a month, approval took 6 months, where the architect really struggled. And so they say that the administration will go to sites, but it's understood that it is public money, and everything should be stringent in that respect. And a new system that they will not be investing on the whims of lighting designer. So they are doing that due diligence. The tender is out. We should hopefully have a build solution in next 6 months. That should be in our case for our country at least. Solution. It's a very common thing abroad, not here.
Yeah, that stays always like that. Yes. So, Tanay sir, can you share an example of how strategic lighting solution enhances the ambience of a hospitality space?
So this was a question raised by a new client of ours, that why you want to involve a designer other than you on board. So we were discussing why we need it. In hospitality, when we work for a restaurant project, the lighting part is very specific for various purposes. You have a glass top or a polished marble top for your table. Then you have a very nicely done up cutlery in front of you, which is glossy. And then you want a selfie on your table. Then you want to click a picture of the dish you're having. And then you want no glare on your eyes when you're dining. All this can't be done with a single light. So when a client asks us to do all this with just one spotlight on top of the table, it can't be done. Then they want to dim that light to create an ambience so that the people who are enjoying their food can also enjoy their drink and the mild music playing at the background. So all this brief, when summed up together with a single piece of fixture, can't be achieved. And that restaurant also works as a restaurant for a breakfast on weekends. There they want natural light too. So all this an architect can't achieve because we have to work with various parts of the design. We have to work with the right kind of furniture, the right sizing for everything, the color, the texture, then there's light. So if we can't involve a specific person to design that particular specific need, then we are not doing right in the project. And that's where a lighting consultant is required, and that's where a knowledge of lighting is required, not to the person who's designing, but for the person who's investing in the project, who's our client. They also need to understand that light can't be ignored, because if light is ignored, the whole experience will be ignored.
Right. In Alexa question, how do we can convince the client to have a lighting design?
Let them sit.
Not required. They see and you them.
No, it can be done. It can be done.
good lighting consultant, it is just like another person. We are working at, yes, achieve data activities, I interest and certain way. Likewise, we have it. So it's one.
So now it's a, okay, you have to be, that lighting designer has to be in your team. Now it's quite confirmed. In every project team, there will be a lighting consultant. Because it's the need of the hour, and their role is increasing day by day, that we are observing.
ट्रू ट्रू धीरू सर आप बताइए जैसे सर ने बताया दैट लाइटिंग डिजाइनर इज देयर ऑलवेज आई थिंक बिगर प्रोजेक्ट्स देयर विल बी दिस देयर सो हाउ डू यू थिंक लाइक आर यू कमिंग इनटू द स्मॉल स्केल प्रोजेक्ट्स और लाइक दैट
Well, it's good to hear, yet to be seen. In this country of ours, we have 120 lighting designers who are only pure lighting designers. The majority of them are in one way a vendor who gives a service to the client. In one way, there are only 120 doctors for light. The rest are chemists who are posing as doctors. So, the way architecture industry is, unfortunately. If you look at it from a different point of view, this entire construction industry, architect is on top of the pyramid. Or is supposed to be. Go wherever in the world, wherever, developed country, developing country, underdeveloped country, the respect that the architect gets is phenomenal. I went to China last month, and there are shops which are only exclusive to premium clients or premium European clients. Even they allow lighting designers or architects. They don't apply vendors, dealers, no matter how big you are. But they, countries is China, which, well, it's operating in a very different scale altogether. But we ourselves know the struggle that all the architects have gone through just to get that extra 0.5%, 1% fee. Right? We too are way behind in line. There are almost 21 consultants required for a building these days, from facade consultant to LV consultant, interior designers, and it's getting complicated as we speak. The reason why bigger people are going for a lighting designer is that they understand that the liability is not on them. There's a difference between having a need for it and then hiring a person, rather than having a liability and then hiring a person. How many builders have you seen? ये बनाओ, हमें पता है क्या चाहिए, sign करो हो जाओ. How many builders have you heard? मतलब, I understand the piousness of this entire system, but there is dirt. And that should be addressed. Okay, look, that is the dirt that needs to go. So many consultants have to go to turnkey headache just to make living. Right? How many times have you heard, what have you been, paper, na? Like, there's a paper that is a struggle. The lighting designers come way behind. Okay, well, I am competing with vendors who have farmhouses, who have offices, who have swanky cars. So we go in this horrible Grand Item and they come in BMW. The idea is the judgment that comes into place. And that's the problem. As a community, are we respecting people who are speaking only and giving their consultancy rather than having someone who's giving the product? I gave an example. We had a fight at site once. The vendor threw a tantrum. Some stone was changed. He was abusing the architect and all that thing got ugly. So he said, architect makes so much money, you are on commission, this, that horrible thing. I stood up and said, dude, we have all seen camellias, magnolias, aralias and all the lias. I told them, show me one architect who's there. I'll show you 10 vendors who are there. We are the one we are gods. We draw in paper, the building get built. And we are struggling for recognition. That's horrible. Imagine this. How many architects have changed fields today? The recent study showed a premium college, 75% student left architecture, went into UI, UX and all those things because they pay 50 grand as starting salary. We all know how much an architect starting salary gets, even from a premium institute. Lighting design is way behind in field, way behind. So that's why I feel. I'm sorry I got a bit emotional, but
That's fine.
And add to what Thiru and answer to the question you raised to me. So, how to convince a client that why we need a lighting designer is like asking a client that you have a heart problem. I'm a physician. I will try to solve your heart problem by operating you. I have no experience, but I'll try because you came to me and you have less budget. So I'll become a heart surgeon and will operate you. And if things go well, it's good for you. If it don't go well, then you can adjust. Same is with asking an architect to work like a consultant for other things, whether it's lighting or air conditioning. And one point I add to all my clients is that there's a part of design which is called curation. We curate. We are not people who collect. And this is what has been happening when architects work like turnkey operators. They don't curate, they collect. अच्छा ये वाला लाइट लगा देंगे, ये वाला पर्दा लगा देंगे, ये वाला कारपेट लगा देंगे, यहाँ से फर्नीचर ले लेंगे, हम चाइना चलेंगे, हम वहाँ से ये ले आएंगे, हम वहाँ से आएंगे, तो हम 3 दिन की चाइना ट्रिप में आपका पूरा प्रोजेक्ट कलेक्ट करके ले आएंगे, हम क्यूरेट नहीं करेंगे. और जब हम क्लाइंट से 3 महीने मांगेंगे क्यूरेशन के, तो क्लाइंट कहते हैं आई डोंट हैव टाइम, आई हैव लॉट ऑफ मनी, आई कैन स्पेंड मनी बट नो टाइम. तो if you want curation, we want time, no money. Because curation needs time, collection needs money. So that's what we have been asking all our clients, that if you have time for curation, then we'll work for you because we don't collect.
That's it. Geetika man, any experience of yours with the clients of hiring lighting designers, something like that?
Definitely is. Till now, I have not had a single client who said yes for a lighting design. I've been doing schools which are spread over 20 acres of land, big projects, hospitals, hotels. But it's always expected that if they've hired an interior designer, that's a one-stop solution for all of them. And moreover, the game is spoiled by the manufacturers, because most of the clients, they say, madam, light डाल के दे दीजिए सीलिंग में, प्लान बढ़ा देंगे आगे. लाइटिंग वाला जो है ना, फिलिप्स वाला, हैवेल्स वाला, वो बता देगा क्या लगाना है. So it's a game spoiler. And yes, definitely a lighting consultant is required in each and every project. That's a must.
So ma'am, how can lighting innovations been utilized in supporting different learning activities in schools or for the different age groups in school?
अगर हम थोड़े टाइम पहले देखें, so most of the schools, since they were built on a small area of land, there was a lot of natural light. There was an inflow of natural light. There were verandas जहाँ से sunshine आ रही थी, खिड़कियों से आ रही थी. That was the most conducive environment for learning. But since now schools have expanded vertically and horizontally, we have centrally air-conditioned schools. We have smart boards. Of course, natural light is going to, the kids can't be reading properly. So LED innovations have been there. Reason being, researchers have proven that LED lights tend to imitate the natural sunlight most closely. In LED lights, child's alertness is increased, his cognitive skills are increased, the errors are reduced. And especially in the early morning hours, you will see those tiny tots, their concentration power is very less. So LED lights are proven to shift their focus, their biological rhythms, so that their focus increases. So I think LED lights, that is why we vastly use LED lights in schools. They're energy saving also, so they're pocket friendly. And that's how these innovations have helped in the educational institution.
So speaking of energy, Sanjay sir, I would like to ask you, how can lighting contribute to energy efficiency in large real estate developments?
If you see 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line, the total proportion of electricity consumption in the complete electricity requirement was around 20 to 25% when we were using conventional lighting system. Now I suppose I don't have the exact idea, but after LED and smart lighting, it has reduced to 5 to 10% only. And although now we have this lighting solution, complete lighting solutions with smart lighting. My observation is that if we see construction industry as a whole, this is the sector where maximum technological this invention or improvement has occurred is respect to other field like pumping, air conditioning, or lift system. The maximum energy conservation due to technological improvement in this lighting sector. And although we further hope that one new thing will come up, because every day we are listening new technology is coming, new type of products are coming, it will be helpful.
Great. So, I would like to ask, how do you all see the collaborative efforts? Architects, interior designers, lighting designers, they can shape the future of interior design or architecture. I would like to start with architect Tane.
Every material has their own character. Same goes when we work for lighting, or you can say air conditioning. So to be honest, as ma'am said, none of our clients allow us to hire a person called lighting designer in the project. हम कितना भी समझाते हैं, कितना भी कन्विंस करते हैं, वो कहते हैं आपको हमने एक बजट दिया है, वो आपकी फ़ीस है, आप उसमें आर्किटेक्ट को लाइए, आप उसको कंसल्टेंट को लाइए, आप खुद कीजिए, आप किसी और से कराइए, हमें उससे कोई लेना देना नहीं है, हम आपको ये पैसा दे सकते हैं और आपको ये प्रोजेक्ट बनाना है. अब there are two ways of doing it. One is to hire a person from our side and get him involved to that project. Sometime it works, sometime it doesn't work, because depending on what the scale of the project is and what is the amount of work needed by that person. Second is to get yourself educated about it. So Thiru is my senior from same college. तो थिरू से हम मदद लेते रहते हैं कि आप थोड़ा सा बता दो. कभी कोशिश करते हैं कि थिरू को हम ले आएँ बोर्ड पे. तो लाइटिंग डिज़ाइनर का रोल बहुत स्पेसिफिक है. जब हम जितना इनोवेशन को देख रहे हैं, मतलब अब लाइटिंग इंडस्ट्री इज़ नॉट अबाउट जस्ट पुटिंग अप अ लाइट, उसके साथ ऑटोमेशन आ गया है, उसके साथ कलर ट्यूनिंग आ गई है. आप लाइट को कलर ट्यून कर सकते हो, विच इज़ अ वेरी स्पेसिफिक काइंड ऑफ अ इंजीनियरिंग, जिसके लिए आपको एक नॉलेज बेस चाहिए. अगर आपके पास वो नॉलेज बेस नहीं है, वो किस टेम्परेचर पे लाइट को जाके रोकना है और किस लेवल पे डिमिंग को रोकना है, अगर ये सब काम भी मैं करने लगूंगा तो मेरा काम शायद मैं भूल जाऊंगा या मैं कर नहीं पाऊंगा उस टाइम में. तो आर्किटेक्ट का रोल आर्किटेक्ट को निभाना पड़ेगा, लाइटिंग डिज़ाइनर का रोल लाइटिंग डिज़ाइनर को निभाना पड़ेगा. तो हमें इसको बहुत अच्छे से अचीव करने के लिए, अच्छे से क्यूरेट करने के लिए सबको लाना पड़ेगा टीम में.
जी. Sanjay sir, being an engineer yourself and आप also you hire architects and designers, आप collaborative efforts को कैसे देखते हैं?
मुझे लगता है कि ये it will increase the requirement of this technology. You can say the lighting is not simply putting a bulb or something to light up that area. Now our expectation for lighting has increased. It is whether it is a facade lighting, landscape lighting, or club lighting, all those things, mood lighting. So when we have a complicated requirement, definitely a collaborative efforts are required. Your architects, interior designer, and lighting consultant has to be in this team so that they can design properly, they can execute it properly. This is the requirement of the future, and it definitely, don't worry, and your scope of work will increase, definitely.
Thiru sir, I want to ask how many architects approach you for this lighting design, or how many architects know about this, that this is a field also? Your experience.
In India, with around 300 to 400 colleges, we have roughly 30,000 architects graduating every year. Not many know. Okay, they understand lighting needs to be done because the subject that is taught. So the capacity building is very low. And that's why when someone in the field comes and see an organization like NPC who's trying to educate the community or the fraternity, we understand that it's a welcome change. So we still wait for people to be aware of it. What's the future? The future, we will always have to believe the future is hopeful, or we have nothing to live for, right? So and it is happening in that way. We have more inquiries, we have more lighting designers, and we have more people realizing the need for it. Whether we get hired or not is a different thing. So every once a week I heard this term, ये तत्व मार्केट को नहीं दे रहे. Because that doesn't mean the lighting is expensive. That means you hired the architect at low cost. Okay, so that with time, I guess, as the building industry gets more organized, it will. There is no two way about it. Everything is now organized. You go to a showroom, they document it. It's not there. I've been here in the industry for the last 18 years. Things have changed dramatically with AI coming in, all those things coming in. Now it's a very different world altogether. We before I reach my office back, the vendor gives a quotation and says to say, "Ye itna ka pad raha hai mota mota." That's the way we are seeing the world change. So yes, consultants as a role will increase with time and will be a better future, so to say.
Great. And I would like to ask more that there is always, when we do a project, there is always two things we focus. There is one is aesthetics and one is functionality. So while doing the lighting design of an architecture project, how do you balance both, aesthetics and functionality?
One of the questions that when I used to teach students to come and ask often, what is important, function or form? I always say it's like, why is it necessary? Do you have to be clean and have to be respectable in the respect? These are standard given. A building can be built by anyone. Anyone. Okay? Kids built buildings with Lego blocks, right? What are we as architects? We make spaces, design spaces which are poetic in nature. And every consultant who is there plays a role in doing that thing possible. An HVAC engineer can't put any duct, any size, anywhere, right? They understand the form and plan and then see how to go about it. The Black Bank building in Ahmedabad by Matharu, I think, was, if you notice the way the HVAC is designed in that thing, it's a work of art. And it has to work. Of course it has to work. You can't have dark spaces for the sake of it, right? So building has to work. The conflict comes, what does it works means? Or what does aesthetic means? We always like to believe as a sub-consultant that the architect will decide the role of each individual, each player. We have architects who say, you know what, I need this kind of effect, just tell me the fixture, location and the wattages. And we have architects who come and say, you know what, I have this space, tell me how all it can be lit. Both are right in the whole space. Someone is very specific with their detail. They want to control each and every element. They don't want to leave things for chance. It's understood by us. I can't be anyway, मैं बताऊँ तो कैसे करना है. Our role is, as we have to understand, we are a sub-consultant to the main consultant who will tell me, yeah, this has to be done this way, not that way. That's what.
Ritika ma'am, your comment on that aesthetics and functionality, how do you manage both?
Karan, I think both these verticals have an important part to play. None of them can be neglected. When it comes to interiors, I know that I can build up a space very beautifully. I can make it usable. The space utilization is done maximum in my designs. But without light, I cannot add life to it. So, and when we are doing spaces, we always divide our lights into three categories. We know one is ambient lighting, one is accent lighting, one is task lights. So once we categorize or once we know which area is catering to what, it becomes very easy to select the light fixtures and accordingly illuminate the space so that both the activities or both the purposes are solved. And coming to the earlier discussion which we were having for the lighting designers and, the collaboration, I think business is always not there. It has to be created. And that is what NPC always said, that they're coming up like a family. So this entire organization or trade of us needs to be like a family, where we need to tell the client कि भाई इनके बिना काम नहीं चलना है. Right. So, for example, an architect has to tell कि interior वाला आना ही आना है, and interior has to tell कि मैं lighting designer के बिना काम नहीं कर सकता हूँ. So, we have to be very specific in our demands. Only if we demand will we get.
Right. So, true. Sanjay sir.
Like functionality. There is one more aspect to it, continuous functionality, the maintenance part of it, or we can specify the maintainability of the thing. We have seen in lighting design, this thing I think somewhere we are missing to it. We have created a very good environment, infrastructure, good lighting, but when the maintenance part will come, we are not finding access how to maintain it. It's not easy. So I think we have to take care of this maintainability also, that how is to do that maintenance. Because these services is for the lifelong, and lighting has to be replaced after few years. So there are some complicated design, some complicated location where you cannot do the maintenance so frequently. So as far as from my industry, the request is that if we are designing a beautiful system, it has to be maintained easily. Only then that we can enjoy the complete effort what you have put in into the design. Thank you.
Tani sir, how can, like, with the technology coming, how can hotel and restaurants use this technology part to engage their patrons?
So, technology has been adding to the whole process. I've been doing restaurants for last 8 years now. So when we started doing it 8 years back, so the dimming is very important part of the whole process of lighting specifically. We have been working with for last 8 years. So when we used to do it 8 years earlier to what we are doing today, it was done manually. We used to give a proper guidance to one person in the team who's managing the restaurant that this is how you will attenuate the whole space from day to night. And that person's training was very specific, and that training was given to another person by that person. So there was a loss in transition, and we were not able to convey that complete atmosphere when the person gets changed. But with technology coming in, there's just one code which gets feed in your iPad, and the whole process can be managed on a single click. Now you have modes. So there's a mode lighting concept which has been added by technology. There's dimming which has been changed by technology. And I think Thiru will be a good person to talk about that technology. I am not a good person. But technology had made things very easy. The manual error has gone from 100 to 0 yet, let's say. And also technology in lighting has changed the whole idea. Now a single fixture can give you all colors, which was not possible 8 years from today. So that particular technology has helped us achieve a lot of things, and direct and indirect lighting can be achieved from a single fixture. That technology is also now there. Earlier it was not there. So I've just installed one fixture in one of our project where you can actually change the reflection angle of the fixture. So you can actually change the light coming downwards to a light going sideward from a single fixture by technology. That was not possible, I think, 2 years before 2023. So that kind of technology is coming in, and I think there's way more. We are now working with daylights using optical fibers, and daylighting is coming inside the space where we don't have windows. So ma'am was saying that when we don't have daylighting coming in directly, we now using technology to bring them inside the spaces and adding to the atmosphere of that space and adding to the energy of that space. So technology is helping.
Thiru sir, can you elaborate about that optical fiber part?
Automation is a different level altogether. You usually hire a LV or low voltage consultant for that. Most of the time, because the low voltage consultant are A, less in number, B, they are in type with some vendor already, so people end up buying an automation vendor who recommends in his best capacity what's best for the field. Lighting designers really lighting designers do end up recommending some vendor or the other, but as a consultant we should always recommend other consultant, so to say, so that there's no conflict of interest in that aspect. Well, the vendor will recommend his brand only. Technology is so advanced, we have what's called as the artificial skylight, where you can see a sun also is artificial. The fixture costs 14 lakhs, a different thing, but you can see a sun inside a dark room where you can see, and the sun will follow you. It's like really the closest thing one can do artificial skylight. In terms of light, we have from color changing light to beam changing light to shape changing light. Now all these things addition, we are complicating the matter. Also, the competition is with everyone, right? The manufacturers trying to stand out, how they are different, how they are better, how they are going to be specific. I'm sure we have all used tracks. So now you're 10 track, 15 track. I just saw 5 track. So that's how things are changing, which in one way is good, but we should always take it with a pinch of salt and then see whether it's suited for us or not.
It's with technology rapidly evolving. So don't you think that कि ऐसा ना हो जाए कि technology इतनी आ जाए कि it can overshadow the essence of traditional design principles?
Well, I will not say traditional design principle, but there will be timeless design principle that will be there. Okay, and if design can be stuck to a principle, then a computer can do it. Our assumption is what? How does the human is better than an AI? That we can give that uniqueness to the design that is there. Okay, now no matter, exposure is important. If you're seeing something, then you can integrate it in your design the way you want to integrate it. If you're not seeing a stone with a wooden panel with a tile flooring, then you will not integrate it. You have to understand the creativity. Nothing is original. We recreate what we have seen in some way or another. The traditional, we unfortunately put so much baggage on the traditionality of thing that we are afraid to innovate sometime.
Right. Tanesh sir, your comments on that?
So the technology is taking up. That is true. We are as a designer has to upgrade himself or herself for the technology. Designer ka role designer ही करेगा. It's like doctor is doctor, chemist is chemist, as said by Thiru. So designer needs to be there. If designer is not well updated about the technology, then you're hiring a wrong designer, because technology is the thing which is there in time. आप उसको omit नहीं कर सकते, and your client can be much more aware about that technology than you are as a designer, and you have to be in place to work on that particular project. If you're not able to do that, I think you should leave or you should upgrade. तो टेक्नोलॉजी को आप ओमिट नहीं करेंगे, टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ आप काम करेंगे. आई थिंक दैट इज़ नीडेड. और हमको ये एग्जीबिशंस में इसीलिए आर्किटेक्ट्स तो आना चाहिए, बिकॉज without coming to these exhibitions, we can't actually know what technology is there. And when a vendor comes, generally I have seen or I have worked with clients, जब vendor आते हैं तो client का discussion ये start होता है, आप expensive तो नहीं है. वो कभी ये नहीं पूछते हैं कि आपके पास बेस्ट टेक्नोलॉजी क्या है. एंड सेम गोज फॉर आर्किटेक्ट. तो हमें वो क्वेश्चन शायद चेंज करना पड़ेगा, तब हम सीख पाएंगे. अदरवाइज तो इट्स ऑल अबाउट बजट. सो इन आवर कंट्री और इन द स्पेस वी आर वर्किंग, we have to omit the idea of budget. You can always work within a budget, but आपको अपने आप को स्पेसिफाई शायद सही करना पड़ेगा कि मुझे इस टेक्नोलॉजी की रिक्वायरमेंट है इस बजट में. तो वो हो सकता है वो हो या ना हो. तो आपका बजट कैन बी ए कंस्ट्रेंट, आपका टेक्नोलॉजी कैन बी ए कंस्ट्रेंट. तो बजट के हिसाब से टेक्नोलॉजी आपको मिलेगी फॉर श्योर. और सेम डिज़ाइन इज़ फॉर डिज़ाइन.
Yes. Gitika ma'am, like in schools, earlier we used to design, we used to we taught like that ki schools, the courtyard planning is one of the best plannings in school, where you can have natural lighting or something like that. But now the most of the schools are covered, they are air conditioned, artificial lighting are coming there. So do you think there is the AI or something like the coming innovations are overshadowing the traditional design principles?
Not till now, what I've seen, because whatever designing आज की date तक हमने करी है, we've always, as I said, maintained a balance between natural light and artificial light. Nothing in this world can replace natural light. Nothing can replace the sun. So a balance always has to be maintained. A person, of course, has to be technologically friendly in order to use that technology to your most utmost benefit. Technology is a weapon, it's said, in the hands of the humans. उसको आप अपने फायदे के लिए इस्तेमाल करिए या अपने नुकसान के लिए इस्तेमाल करिए. So we are not at loggerheads. And as Lipika ma'am said in her presentation, that designs or lights always invoke an emotion. जब तक human emotion है, you know, a physical intervention will always, a personal intervention will always be required. And AI cannot ever replace a human mind. So that is how I don't think so. We are at risk with the technology. Our job is not at risk. We benefit from it.
Great. Any closing thoughts, Sanjay sir?
First of all, I want to say that definitely the scope of lighting consultant will increase. Now, public at large, the developers has recognized that it is a genuine requirement. And secondly, the technology also has given a lot of additional edge that you can create a beautiful structure, beautiful ambience. So in my views, the future of this industry is very bright, and definitely what is required that we have to handle each and every aspect of the designing, whether it is interior, architecture or lighting consultant, to create a better environment, feasible, sustainable environment, which is environmental friendly also, and with the functionality and design, its maintainability also, so that we can enjoy those facilities for a longer run without much headache. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I would say it's all about the balance, we find. And speaking of balance, let's remember that designing without good lighting is like writing a story without proper punctuation. Both leaves you in the dark. So thank you everyone for shedding light on this captivating subject today, and thank you audience for hearing it.